Hello everyone, congrats to the MJ Bulls. Big week out there, a lot of fun trading, a lot of fun investing and watching the action. And I'm going to be doing two videos this weekend to cover the action. This one's going to be Weed, APH, ACB, EMC, and HMMJ. And then I'm going to be putting out another video with 5 tickers as well with all this action to cover. And also want to give a big shout out to the chat room. This week was very ideal in terms of how the chat room functions. If you're trading by yourself, you're at a disadvantage. If you're trading with a team that has hundreds of eyes on the market, everybody pointing things out to each other and really discussing things to be on the same page, that's where it is beneficial. We are not in competition with each other. If we can make money together, we can all make money. So that is why, in my opinion, you need to have a team, even if it's just a few of your friends shooting back and forth ideas and pointing things out. Whatever it is, if you're trading by yourself, there are communities out there that you need to find and to put yourself at an advantage to have that opportunity to learn from other people. So I got to give a big shout out to the chat room because they were doing a great job this week doing that. And at the end of this video, I attached a little example of what we do with our live webcam coverage, 2.5 hours every day. I edited together the coverage of WEED today and the opportunity that provided in terms of selling the spike and then reloading the dip if that was the style of trading that you were looking for. And let's get right into it. First thing I want to point out is, we were ready for this move and this climax today. Every morning I post support and resistance levels here in the chat room and then a little note. And my note this morning was looking for a strong morning push and a quick 180 turnaround to mark the temporary top. When we see a new low of the day, we know momentum has shifted. And I mentioned that again when I was live, which you can see at the end of this video, where I said, if we see a new low of the day in the first half hour, that's a big heads up that we're going to see some consolidation take place. So we look at WEED and we had the not the volume climax, but essentially the volume climax right up there with yesterday in terms of volume. It is a bearish reversal candlestick with a big upper wick of profit taking, and the bulls did buy the dip. It wasn't an all-out dump. Short term, it was an all-out dump where we went from being up 4% to being down 7% very, very quickly, and that lets us know if it's thin on the way up and we're seeing the bulls run with a lack of resistance, that means it's thin on the way down too, so we need to be aware of that, and that was certainly the case today. The bulls did maintain the upper Bollinger Band as support, so we are still seeing strength, and we now have a new clear support level, 1179. I anticipate to trade within this range because it is so wide. I would expect on Tuesday, we don't have trading in Canada on Monday, but I would anticipate an inside bar to form completely within this range on Tuesday and then wait until mid next week for a break of this tightening range that I anticipate to happen. And that's either going to break bearish and tell us further consolidation is coming, or break back bullish and tell us that the bulls are still in absolute full control. So 1179 is a key support. If that level breaks, I'm looking down to 1143 and 1121 as the next two levels. Anything above 1062 is going to keep a very strong higher low pattern on the daily time frame intact, and we have these moving average supports catching up after that big bull move. Weekly time frame, big volume spike, highest weekly volume that we've seen since back in February essentially, and we have a little upper wick of profit taking, but it's not significant. The bulls are still in full control here, and we're going to form a higher low when we do consolidate here. The weekly chart is due for consolidation to a degree, and going to be looking for that, which is why I want to wait for the inside bars and the tightening daily range to play out, because if we do get a bearish break after things reach that equilibrium and calm down a bit, I do want to hold off and wait for an entry in the mid to lower $11 range at the soonest if that does play out. But I'm obviously watching every day, and my analysis will change if I see certain things happening each individual day. But as of right now, I do anticipate the need for weekly consolidation in the near term. We had resistance back here at 1330. We pulled back from 1324. So we had a lack of resistance, allowing the bulls to run with it. That was the next clear resistance, and it's an important resistance because if we break that, we're not looking at anything until 1786, and the bulls are going to have a really easy time of it seeing continuation if we get over 1330. But as of right now, we pulled back just below that level. A question a member had was, this looks a lot like the first week in October last time where we saw a big run up and an upper wick, and then we saw continuation and we exploded. And do you think that's going to happen again? And I don't think that's going to happen again. It's absolutely possible, and if it does happen and we see the volume behind it, we'll be ready for it. But the difference here is that was week number 1 on this breakout. We were consolidating for almost 3 months before that, and then we broke out and saw continuation. Here we were consolidating for about 6 weeks, and we broke out 3 weeks ago. And this is the 4th week of this breakout, so I do not think we're going to have the same kind of power and momentum and hype that we had on that last move up. I do think there is going to be some sensible consolidation along the way, and today was just the first sign of that on the daily time frame. So here's the 5-minute time frame, and we use this all the time when we're day trading, and we had that quick push up as anticipated. We pulled back, no red flags yet. The red flag was the new low of the day within the first half an hour, and we hit that, and then we saw a waterfall and stops getting triggered and an all-out flush. We were ready to buy the dip, as you'll see in the video at the end of this video, where we said, okay, $12, look for an oversold bounce, and then saying, we're in the 1180s now. I am very confident in an oversold position in the 1180s, and that ended up giving, a 6 to 8% bounce opportunity, or it allowed you to just reload. And this is why I love volatility in trading. Even if you have a long position, if you learn how to be comfortable with technical analysis, you could have missed the top and missed the bottom and still increased your entire holdings in WEED by 4% today. And that would have been if you had some pretty sloppy exits and re-entries. If you had been on point, that's a 6% easy reload that you could have had in terms of selling your position and buying back more shares with the same amount of money. So obviously I don't suggest day trading unless you're educating yourself and you have studied and practiced. But if you have put in the time, these are opportunities that you capitalize on to increase your long-term positions. So now we have a tight trading range. The small short-term trading range I'm watching is 1236 support and resistance of 1265, the high of the bounce that we saw. Those are the two levels I'm going to be watching on Tuesday to see which breaks first and who has the short-term momentum in their favor. Checking in on APH, and we're going to come back to this 5-minute chart because we had other signals where APH gave us a heads up to weakness before WEED. So APH on the daily, gap up open, gap and trap scenario, profit taking. Our new support is 715. The next level I'm looking at after that is 707. Volume climax signaling the top. We have the weekly time frame, a little bit more of a bearish candlestick. That's more of a significant upper wick compared to the entire range of the week. But look at the lack of resistance here. We're looking at the all-time high, 877, as the next level, and we got up today to 788. So the APH bulls are much closer to an all-time high than WEED, and there's much less resistance there. We saw that WEED had to get over that level of resistance of 1330. APH doesn't have that resistance to deal with. So we are still in breakout mode for a month, higher lows and higher highs. The weekly chart, anything above 571 and 562 is going to be a higher low. That's going to happen when we do consolidate. I personally am moving money around, moving money from the cryptocurrency space and just getting ready to go larger positions, longer term on this space. I've been trading it, but I'm looking to, establish and build up positions on this consolidation, as a lot of people are. This woke up the sector, and people missed the run, and they're going to be looking to reload consolidation, which is why we need to be prepared for some very short-term consolidation, because there is money on the sidelines still waiting to get in, and they want a piece of this action. So APH on the 5-minute time frame. The new low of the day happened 15 minutes into the trading day, very clearly. And for WEED, it didn't happen until a half an hour into the day. I do believe that WEED is following APH on this move up. I think APH had a lot of momentum because their earnings are approaching, and we have word from Investors Relations that it's going to be October 13th, but that's not a concrete date. I've heard 10 different dates at this point, but this is one directly from their email. So APH led the breakout on the daily time frame. APH headed to higher highs on the daily on September 29th, and WEED saw the break October 2nd. And that was a suggestion for a laggard play where I was looking at WEED, and I did get in on this move on September 29th because I was looking for the laggard action and suggested it to a friend as well, and we did see that follow through. So that told me that APH is the leader of this move, and so the fact that APH hit a new low of the day 15 minutes into the day, that was a red flag to be looking for consolidation in the sector. We saw the all-out dump and the oversold bounce from here as well. The RSI was the indication to us to get into this trade, along with that completely overdone flush, and we had a very significant bounce here as well. The range to be watching into Tuesday, support is 741, and I'm looking at resistance of 748 and then up at 762. So watching close for that to give us some short-term direction when that does break. But as of right now, some sideways tight action and anticipating further consolidation, keeping in mind that this is just day number 1 of a bearish reversal candlestick. But same thing, I'm anticipating an inside bar on the daily time frame with a tightening range on Tuesday as things settle down before we get a break. ACB was another laggard situation today, and we'll point that out in just a moment. But ACB got its daily bull break on October 5th. It actually got it on October 4th. So essentially, you could have played the APH bull break, then the WEED bull break on the daily, and then the ACB bull break on the daily in terms of bouncing around, and haven't done the math in terms of whether sticking into one name or bouncing around to those 3 different distinct breakouts would have been more beneficial. Either way, it's probably going to be close. But the fact is that they're breaking out at different times, so that gives us opportunity at different times rather than a really strong correlation where everything's doing the same thing at the same time, which is less beneficial when you're a trader. So looking in on ACB, we had a double top of resistance at 319. And as soon as we hit that and then pulled back, you can see ACB on the 5-minute time frame. It was weak really 15 minutes into the day as well and gave the red flags with that double top. So ACB pulling back, support is 292. If that breaks, I'm looking at 284. Volume climax today. Weekly candlestick has an upper wick. Resistance is up at 348, and we topped out this week at 319. So a couple resistance levels left. Again, compared to APH, APH has less resistance than ACB because ACB and WEED have multiple levels on the weekly to be looking at. APH does not. So ACB, the laggard play here, look at when the bottom was hit. The bottom was hit at 10:30 a.m. Eastern for an oversold bounce. WEED, the bottom was hit at 10:15, the low of the day, and by then we had already seen a significant multiple percent bounce. APH, low of the day was hit at 10:15, multiple percent bounce 5 minutes later. All of that had happened with the bounce before ACB hit its low. So we had someone in the chat room pointing out, hey, ACB is now oversold. Is this a laggard play? And I checked in and looked at the 5-minute RSI at that point, and that was down in very oversold territory, and said, yeah, absolutely, that's an oversold bounce play to be looking at, and we have that laggard action, and that if you miss the bounces in ACB, or I should say in APH and WEED, we had another opportunity here in ACB. So that was something that I personally would not have seen if this member in the chat room had not pointed this out to have everybody look at it. So that's very beneficial, and again, the teamwork mentality of being able to spot different plays and get opportunities that we otherwise would have missed. So ACB on the weekly time frame, we'll be watching to see if this upper wick leads to consolidation. Same thing for the sector. I'm looking for inside bars and tightening ranges on Tuesday, and then we'll look for a break mid next week to indicate where we are heading in the end of next week once we do get a break from the tightening equilibrium pattern that happens after this settled down move, after we settle down from all this volatility. EMC on the daily time frame, nice spike up by the bulls. The bull break occurred at 190 on EMC, and we topped out now at 210. 211 is a key resistance as well. So we have a double top at 210 and 211. We look at the weekly time frame, and why 190 was significant is because we had a bounce off the 200-week support, top of the bounce at 211. Bounced off of it again. Lower high was 190. Another lower high was 188. We broke 188 and 190, and we are changing the pattern from lower highs and lower lows all of 2017 to now a higher low. And if we break 211, we have that clear higher high. And those were just some early signals by breaking 188 and 190, but really need to break 211 to get that full-on follow-through. And the upper Bollinger Band resistance is in the way. We're going to see this Bollinger Band begin to level out and then ascend and create room for the bulls to turn this trend around. But I do like EMC's setup here very much for a higher risk, higher reward, low cap name that is changing its weekly trend to start to favor the bulls. And looking at this 5-minute time frame, this tells you that EMC is not a day trader. When you have a half an hour of trading plus where we don't move the price, you don't want to be day trading this. This is a swing trade, if anything. So not going to be looking at the 5-minute time frames. HMMJ is the same. The 5-minute time frame, not really beneficial for day trading. We had the same thing, a climax and a push down. Didn't get the volume climax on HMMJ, but certainly the price action. Support is down here at 1008, and then I'm looking down at 980 as the next support level. Didn't see as much of a bounce on HMMJ, so we could see a more likely scenario of a bearish continuation move into next week early, and might not see an inside bar on HMMJ like we're looking at on some of these other names because we didn't buy the dip that significantly. The weekly time frame has changed the trend, higher low and higher high. The break of 966 was very bullish, and we're now looking at 1063 resistance, followed by 1093, and then up to 1240, the all-time high. So the bulls are back in the sector. You can tell, obviously, in all the forums and everything and the video views, and it's getting a lot of attention again. And with big gains comes a lot of attention and hype, and a lot of people on the sidelines looking to get in. So again, I do anticipate that we do need to consolidate. I'm going to be patient on my re-entries unless I'm day trading, and there's plenty of day trading and volatile opportunities in this space right now. But in terms of longer term weekly positions, I need to see if this weekly chart is going to give us a bit of a pullback to allow a nice significant bull entry heading into 2018. But for those that are buying and holding, congrats. You know, that's your style. That's great. If you do want to learn how to trade to become more comfortable, I have personally, with my own eyes, seen people come in from November's last bull run and put their motivation and dedication to learning technical analysis. And where they stand right now, let's see, it is almost, 10 months later, but they are a completely different trader. They have their own financial future in their own hands, and they're doing really well. I'm specifically thinking of a couple members that come to mind, but they were jumping around from the cryptocurrency space. They're back to Canadian MJ. They reloaded their holdings from long-term positions from the end of 2016 to much higher positions in terms of size where we stand right now because they patiently waited for the bottom to be hit over the summer. So again, it is very possible to learn technical analysis if you are dedicated and motivated to doing so, and it will benefit you in terms of understanding what's going on the charts and allow you to position yourselves. And again, even if you're only making it one trade every 2 weeks or every month, there are these opportunities of high volatility that allow us to reload our positions and reload more significantly. Another member had a stop loss that triggered back in the end or the start of 2017, and they were able to reload over 20% lower because they were then able to find the bottom in the summer and reload those positions. So plenty of stories out there. Come check out the trading community for a free week. I appreciate you watching, and I hope you have a good weekend. And let's now check out the other video. Lots of talk on MJ and lots of length in these videos. Thanks for sticking with me. We'll see you next week. WEED, I am obviously looking for that consolidation to begin shortly. And I do believe it will begin with a push up, a bullish continuation start to the morning, very fast, strong move, and then a complete 180 turnaround and a new low of the day. And that's going to mark the formation of a bearish reversal candlestick on the daily time frame. Also watching this higher low pattern, we have support of 1258 and 1234. If we break 1222, that is a very clear indication that consolidation is coming. That was the low of the most significant consolidation of yesterday before the bulls did recover into the end of the day. So $13 psychological resistance, looking for a potential correlation with the market that is seeing some weakness and looking for a bearish reversal candlestick to potentially form today. But we have to see signs of weakness first. Just going to be cautious of that complete 180 turnaround and the new low of the day. If that occurs in the first half hour, that will be notable. So Canadian MJ starting with continuation. WEED is already up over 2%, but watching for the potential of a turnaround if we see a new low of the day after the bulls see this push first thing. So this is the kind of run-up morning on WEED in terms of strength where we're really going hard and strong, much harder than the start of yesterday. So very cautious of a potential volume climax. But at this point, a trailing stop is likely the best way to go about it. But if you compare the first two 5-minute candlesticks compared to pretty much any run-up on this bull move, this is by far the most overextended, the quickest that we have seen. WEED is back testing $13 psychological support, and we're seeing a pretty big turnaround. Again, the fact that we went up so quickly, the fastest we've seen the first 15 minutes of bullish action, this entire run up, was what I was looking for the potential 180 turnaround. So I have to be watching close for the potential of a bearish reversal candlestick forming today. WEED, a break of 1294 would be a clear bear break in my opinion that would likely have us start to form a daily bearish reversal candlestick and potentially look for that shift in momentum. It's still certainly a battle going on. And there will be an oversold bounce trade in the Canadian MJ sector. But patience as the 5-minute RSI is still in the upper 30s. We would have to drop down into the 1220s for me to like an oversold bounce play. WEED oversold bounce at 12. We can look for an oversold bounce entry down here. Very confident in an oversold bounce from the 1180s. Need to see if we follow through with further pullback after today. but a very nice 6% bounce.